Welcome to the Firehouse, the show dedicated to the brave men and women who serve our community.
Hello and welcome to the Firehouse on WRHU 88.7. I am your host, Chris Moses, and today sitting with me in the Firehouse is my boy, Glen, and it's fresh. Without the F, Roesch, Glen Roesch. What's going on, brother?
Hey, man, it's good to see you again. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, thank you, man. Thank you for coming out, man. Thank you for really coming out and doing this. But again, this is about volunteers. So talk to me about your department, your company, what ranks you held, how long you've been in. So talk to me.
So I come from a small department in Suffolk County, Ocean Beach Fire Department on Fire Island. Okay. I have a very unique experience in the volunteer world out there. Okay. I've been part of the department for 20 years. Actually, this year is my 20th year. I joined in 2004.
Wow.
I grew up in that firehouse. My dad was assistant chief forever. He's been part of the department for over 30 years. My uncle was the chief of the department for 20 years. Wow. Been part of the department. He's 3 years away from 50 years.
Wow, look at that. From 50 year. He's going to get that 50-year pin, baby.
Get that 50-year pin for sure. My mom was a lieutenant in the EMS section of it for close to 7 years, and so my earliest memories have always been in the fire department.
Wow. So from the beginning, I mean, you literally, so when you joined, did you join juniors or you went right in? Like, how did you?
We don't actually have a juniors department, but like all the parents just brought their kids. Yeah. I mean, I was sitting in a mule when my dad's backing up to park it to be able when I was just 8 years old. When we started the EMS program in the 90s, and I was just a little kid, but when they were qualifying to become an EMT, I was their victim.
Wow.
They would be like, all right, we're going to split you up. We're going to do respirators.
We're going to do all of that.
CSA and PSI. I'm going to start touching you now. It's like, all right.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. So Fire Island, you gotta explain that. Like, what is and let's talk a little bit about a typical day. Like, our days are usually Sunday, volunteers, Sunday's our day. So walk me through a typical day on a Sunday and just some of the things that you do over on Fire Island. Because I'm pretty sure you got a lot of different ops than regular departments.
We do. So Fire Island, if people don't know this, is the barrier island of Long Island. Okay. You literally have to take the Robert Moses Bridge over or a ferry boat that's like a 30-minute ride to get there. Okay. So patient transport in the EMS is kind of difficult, or trying to get resources over in the winter for a big fire is very challenging for us. So a typical day.
Who do you mutual aid to?
So it'll depend.
But I don't want to keep going.
We can get to that. So a typical day, Sunday's drill day, right?
Yep.
That's when the people can get out, then come and drill. So we would come to the firehouse around 9 in the morning. The go-getters are probably there at 8:30 and just like starting to poke around and everything. Then when people start showing up, we put out a schedule of what the drill is going to be. So there's already a topic and ready to prepare for. So the chatter and the talk about to get the drill going starts pretty much when people start showing up. Okay. Then we do our drill. There's only a few spots that we can like drill safely without impeding people's day because it's a tourist place during the summer.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So we have to pick our spots kind of particularly, which we haven't. Then we'll go out our drill. We'll do either hose handling or we'll do some searches. We'll go to the playground and do some obstacle courses so we can work with our Scott packs and our gear and stuff. Yep. And then by the end of the time, when we finish our drills, we'll come back, we'll debrief, and then we'll either putter around the firehouse more or then we'll go on about our day and stuff.
Okay. And I can imagine just, so I want you to touch a little bit on that. Because you're on Fire Island and the resources, like I can imagine, like that must be hard. Like, how do you get the resources you need? I mean, pretty sure everything is there that you need, basic. But
so one of the hardest things is manpower. Yeah, as we're seeing in our in the fire department is that the older generations are getting older, but we're not bringing in new blood.
Yep.
A lot of it is just lifetime members or people like me who's been growing up in this life, joining, and then nobody else really kind of coming into the thing. So manpower is our biggest challenge of it. Depending on the season, because it's a summer or winter, there's no really middle ground for it. So during the summer, we'll have enough people to not have to mutual aid Long Island, where we'll just mutual aid Fair Harbor, Saltaire, Ocean Bay Park, Point of Woods.
Okay.
But during the winter, we talk to Frez and have standing orders that if we ask for mutual aid, we're going to be going further out for it. Sometimes it's going to be either Bayshore, West Islip, pretty much anybody who has a boat that can come over there. Dock, yeah, and we've used it. And it's a great way to work with our other departments across the pond, right?
That must be crazy. I can imagine being in the Bayshore Fire Department, get a call, and like, all right, get on this boat and go over here.
Yeah. Listen, get your gear, put it on the boat. You're gonna.
How long is it? How long is the
response time?
Well, how long is the ride over there for? If I needed to respond, I'm in Bayshore and I need to respond. How long?
So depending on your boat that you got, it could be like a 5 to 10 minute drive.
Okay.
So the EMS side, when you're an ALS provider, it's really hard to just pass off a patient, right?
Yeah.
If you provide care higher than the basic, then you have to provide that level of care all the way through, unless you do a higher thing. Like I'm a CC. I can pass off to a medic, but I can't pass off to a basic. So if I do something and I can't get a medic, I have to go off with that patient. There's 2 routes to get off from me. I either go by helicopter or I go by boat. If I'm on that police boat, I'm across in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, they fly. It's great.
Boom, and moving.
To be honest, it's really cool to be part of the Ocean Beach Department because I get to do stuff that rarely any people. My first code that I ever was part of, I was in the helicopter doing CPR with it because we had no way of getting this patient off. Because at that time, the middle road was blocked, so we had to go on the beach, and we couldn't risk our only ambulance to be going on the beach. And there was no way that Suffolk PD could get there, Marine Bureau could get there in time, so we had to take the helicopter. But helicopters don't normally let you bring a patient who you're doing CPR onto it.
Yeah.
Suffolk County just put out a new like standing order that if it's a barrier island, you can do it. So I got to be in a helicopter doing chest compressions, like looking out. This is cool.
This is crazy to do that. So moving into that, you said 20 years that you've been in.
20 years.
So, I mean, that was one story. I know you got some stories, man.
I know
you got some stories. So talk to me. Talk to me. I need at least 2 good stories. Like, I mean, that's one right there. That's something that I'm pretty sure a lot of listeners that are in the services have never done chest compressions on a helicopter or even been. I've never been on a helicopter.
That's what I'm saying.
So, but talk to me. I know you got some good stories, man. I know you do.
So, one of your questions you had was, what show most accurately portrays?
Yep, talk to me.
So, I kind of also think that's an unfair question because it depends on what it is. Like, if you talk about like what are the funniest things that you get to do to be able to build camaraderie with someone, I would say Tacoma FD is pretty right on spot. The antics that they're pulling into, I used to pull in my day at the Firehouse, right? But then if you want to talk like fire operations, we can talk about Rescue Me. Rescue Me was quite on point for it and everything like that. We rented out the fire department to do backdraft.
Yeah.
We had a keg and everything right there, and we were just watching movies, so that was an accurate one. But the reason I brought that up is because one of the actors in Rescue Me is one of our members who I've been fighting fires forever. Seriously.
Wow. Gotta get him on the show.
We can try. So one of the most memorable fires is me and him. It was a commercial fire with fire coming fully involved in the commercial fire. We were on the 4 side, and the building behind it is a pizzeria. We brought a 2.5-inch hose because we were just doing a surround and drown type of operation, protecting exposures.
Okay.
The wind was coming from our back, so we had no smoke going away from it. So we could post up there, sit there, and relax. And it's just me and him shooting the just hanging out. And whenever we had to like hydrate, we were just pulling it right out of the fridge in the pizzeria, just hanging out there. this was also late back when they weren't so on top about like smoking on the fire.
Yeah.
He pulled out like a cigarette, just sitting there smoking it and just like putting on the fire. Back in the day, you can't do this stuff now.
No, can't at all.
Can't at all now. But that was
good old days.
That was one of the most memorable things. I'm like, I'm fighting a fire, hanging out with a star, just pulling free drinks out of a pizzeria, just trying to keep this up. I was really on cloud 9 that day.
That's dope. That's dope. All right, I need another one because I know you got some more. 20 years.
So
you said, and let's just back up. You said who in your family was in the fire department?
Oh, man, so everybody.
Everybody. Have you ever went into a fire with someone that?
No, unfortunately, one of the things that I got to my father passed 12 years from now.
Sorry to hear that, man.
I always wanted to like fight a fire with him, but he was an overweight man who was not interior qualified.
Okay.
So he couldn't really just like go into the fires for it.
Okay.
I was hoping to get to be veteran enough to get on to be a pump operator.
Yeah.
Because you got to earn that right.
That's right.
You can't just go and be like, I want to be a pump operator. Be like, man, you got some shoes to fill, and you got to prove yourself.
You got a lot to learn, and not to cut you off, but a lot of people don't realize that it is more intense being out there as a pump operator than actually being inside. And my MPOs know that. You know it is intense because everything is on your shoulders. And I didn't realize. I remember my first fire when I had to pump, and it was like, the adrenaline pumping through me to make sure this goes off. I'm not blowing guys off the line. The intensity being outside. And for our listeners, you hear that. You're like, oh, just going outside pumping water, that's nothing compared to going in the building. That's fun. Out here, it ain't fun no more. I'm like, oh, Jesus, let me do this right.
In my experience, going into the fire is the less stressful part of the entire job.
I know what to do.
I'm doing my left-hand lead. I'm just making sure I got my tools, my light. The guy behind me is going to be communicating with IC. All I got to do is find that fire and put it out.
That's it.
The pump operator, that's the lifeblood of the entire scene.
Everything.
If that fails, everything fails.
And everyone's looking at you. It's almost like, even though it's not, it's almost like the quarterback.
Yeah.
For us, we know, like, listen, who's out there?
IC will come to you and be like, can I put in another line? The pump operator is the one that's going to be able to tell you what.
Yes,
so you better know your stuff to be able to, can I really put in another thing, or am I going to be dropping the pressure and it's just going to be gone?
And now my guys are in there, and this is all on me. That's why I remember there was times that you pull up, I'm the chauffeur, and then the older guy pulls up, and I'm like, yes, please take this over, and then I get to run inside. But if not, you gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, so keep going with your story. So you're talking about family in the fire department.
I got to actually one time I got to ride with my mom on an EMS thing, and I was just a basic for the first time, and I never really knew how. Like, I knew my mom as my mom, but never really as like outside of that as a perspective. Man, she really inspired me to be able to be more than what I was. We had this autistic child that had a forearm laceration that clearly needed stitches and everything. With autism, it's really hard to be able to communicate. And it's one of the biggest problems that we have as a first responder, is to be able to how to effectively communicate with these types of patients and not de-escalate the situation into a worse scenario. Yeah. My mom, because of my brother, crushed it. She was able to calm the person down.
She knew exactly what to do.
She stopped the bleeding to be able to do it. She volunteered to go on the boat to transport all the way to Southside Hospital and come back to make sure that this boy was comfortable, happy, and taken care of all the way. Wow, so it was kind of one of the coolest things ever. And
that hit her here to the heart. So she was like, I gotta be with be with him the whole time and make sure he's comfortable. And then once he got comfortable with her, she was able to do what she got to do. So I think that's dope, and that kind of goes into my question of what inspired you to get into the fire service. But I assume it was your family. You've been from the ground up.
But to elaborate more with that question, though, like, what inspires me to join it? And I think that's too easy of a thing. Okay. What is it that inspires me to stick with this? That's right. How do we stay here for 20 years, 50 years, however long we could possibly do this? And the real reason is that when I am at drills and there's random kids walking around, they're like, look at the fire truck, look at the ambulance. Yeah. And they get so happy to come to the firehouse, to start playing, to start touching the thing. That is the best part about my day, and I love to be able to do it. My kids now get so excited when I'm bringing a truck that I have to get serviced at wherever it is, and I have to park it outside my house for a few hours. They're climbing all over it, just having a good time. I'm like, I never want to be able to not provide these smiles to my kids. That's or dope. Any kids. Any kids.
And it literally changes their lives. It'll change their life, especially summertime, especially for me in front of my firehouse, Brookside. You know, we see kids coming by. They're always like tiptoeing, not sure. I'm like, come on in. Come get on the rig. Come take a look. Come, you know, go ahead. Hit the button. Hit this, hit this. And they love it. And that could be a future firefighter right there. A future not just firefighter, EMT, future anything, anyone that wants to serve. You have now opened up a door that they've never seen before.
I think one of the best things departments can do is start a junior program.
That's right.
They don't have to really be heavy, but maybe like twice a year, 3 times a year, you have just a kid event day. They get to get hose, or they get to spray something, draw chalk on a wall where it's a pretend fire, doing something like that. Have children feel that it's okay to come by and say hi.
That's right.
If we can do something like that, because then you start instilling that this is a community.
That's right.
And people always want to be part of a community and be accepted somewhere. So why not start that early into the fire department?
That's right.
And then we help out our recruitment a little bit more. That's like a long-term solution, but
if anybody listening wants advice on how to do that, you could definitely reach out, or your department reach out to Uniondale Fire Department. We have a juniors department. It's been running for over 20 years. I mean, we have about, and I don't know, but at least 25 kids that are there for the entire time. They go to every single company. They get hands-on, and, you know, they start at the age 13, and then 17 they age out, or 18 they age out, and then they pick a company, and then they usually join. So that's where we get a lot of our, you know, people from. So if anyone listening needs help or needs to know how to put a program together, definitely, you know, reach out to Uniondale. So
absolutely. So we don't actually have one for the Ocean Beach Fire Department. But 2 years ago, the head lifeguard of the Ocean Beach Lifeguard started one.
Okay.
And we have kids that have been doing it for the past years and cannot wait to become a lifeguard.
I know.
Cannot wait. They're like, I've been a lifeguard for 23 years. I was a lifeguard before I was a firefighter. And to see how motivated these kids are reminds me of myself when I was back then and everything. And I know we're going to have guards for the next 6 years because of a program like this. So I know it works.
You know, I got to ask this question because we talked about memorable stuff with EMT. We talked about fire. We got to get into lifeguarding. There's got to be something. For 23 years, something happened.
Oh, man.
Tell me one story, because I know that's crazy. That's something that I can't even imagine doing. I can swim, but for me, I can't swim for someone else. And that's what lifeguards are doing. You got to know how to swim for other people. I can't do that.
So one of the old lifeguard who used to run it was a Fidney firefighter, just retired about 5 years ago. He trained me from 14 years old to about 20-something years old.
Okay.
He would make us swim 500 yards out in the ocean. This was before people even cared about sharks. Had no worries about sharks. They're like, here's 500 yards of line. Why don't you go swim it all out and we'll pull you in. You had to take a jet ski to be able to see us out, so to be able to pull us in. And he would wait until I was I partied the night before and be like, all right, we're gonna go for a nice long swim. So it's me and my boy out there, and we're floating around, and the lifeguards that were supposed to come get us never got us. So we're sitting there like, what the heck's going on? And now we're starting to freak out because it's no, there's sharks. The water's too blue.
I'm waiting water for how long?
Let's start swimming in. They come with the jet ski and they come back in, and we're like, what the hell? Why didn't you come get us? He said to go get lunch for you guys and everything like that and wrap everything up that you guys can swim in. We're like, what? Come on, man. Really?
But isn't that tiring?
So
did you have to take breaks? Like what? How do you even take a break? You just can't touch the. You just tread water.
You just tread water.
But that's tiring in itself.
Yeah, but luckily enough, in the ocean with that salt, you're a little bit more buoyant, so you can float. Like if you go into fresh water, you're gonna sink if you don't know how to swim. But if in freshwater, you're a little bit more buoyant, so you're able to just tread water, kind of nice, salt water. And just lay on your back, kind of relax and everything,
and then get back at it.
And then get back at it. But when you have to certify, you can't break stroke. Ever. So whether you're going down under the wave, you have to make sure that it's the next rotation of your arm, and all these intricacies for your test. It's a 500-yard test with 6 evolutions and then like a mile swim. It's lessened up over the years, but this was how I do it. First time I ever took it, I got hypothermia.
Did you?
You weren't allowed to wear wetsuits. And by that time, I was 16 years old, only 90 pounds soaking wet. In May, when it's like 50 degrees water, just trying to swim. There's no fat on me. So I got hypothermia the first time I ever took that test.
Oh, man.
But one of the most memorable rescues I ever had was it was hurricane surf. One of the hurricanes just missed us, but because of where it was, we were getting like 12 to 14 foot swells. And me and 2 really experienced guards actually had to go out on the jet ski, do a rescue boat to bring the patient back in. Now, the patient was unconscious at the time, so I got to do the water rescue, transition into my EMS side of it, and then bring it all the way. I showed up to the hospital in just my lifeguard shorts. No shoes, no shirt, no nothing. The nurse is like, "Did you just come from the beach?" I'm like, "You ain't kidding."
Like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm fine. She's like, don't you think you want to put a shirt on them? I'm like, I have nothing. It's all the way back in Ocean Beach.
Give me a gown?
Yeah.
Give me a gown?
It's AC. I'm freezing it here.
That is dope, man. I love that. All right, so I got a couple more questions for you. One question is, firefighters
I got one more story.
Talk to me. Bring them on. So
during the summer, my kids and I, we stay out in Ocean Beach during it. I have to pick them up from camp and we're walking home. It's me and my oldest daughter at this time walking on home. Someone comes out of the bar at the restaurant and says, "We need to call 911. This guy just fell unconscious."
Okay.
I'm like, all right, I'll come in and start patient assessment. I call 911. My crew starts coming up. My daughter's sitting at the bar drinking a ginger ale at the restaurant. The people that come are all basics, and I'm the only highest trained provider. Yeah. The end of the call was just like, "Daddy, you're cool."
You're cool. And we don't never get that. We don't get that.
As a dad.
But think about that, because that almost is in parallel to you being on the rig for the first time with your mom and being inspired.
Yeah.
You inspired her that day.
I can only
to
hope.
see that, to see that. The same way you got that feeling about mom, like I only know mom is mom, and now, wow, I only know dad is dad, and dad is cool, yo. Yeah. Like, look at what dad, off the street, like, we didn't know this was going to happen. They just pulled us off, and dad was able to perform and do all of this.
Yep. And now I have her trained where, like, sometimes if there's like a call, there was a CPR call down in Prague. An echo call came out for cardiac arrest down the street, 4 houses away. I was like, "Girl, stay right here. I'll be back in 5 minutes when the ambulance comes." Went there, did it. People came on the same level and everything. I was like, "Good, I'm out." She just sat right in front of the TV. It was like, "How'd it go, Daddy?"
How'd it go? You gotta love it. All right, so the question I was gonna ask was, what is a common myth about firefighters that you want to debunk right now for our listeners?
So this one kind of tripped me up, this question. I've been thinking about it a lot. And the answer that I wanted to come down to this was always being ready to perform.
Okay.
People, the longer you're in, the more you think you're going to be able to perform on a physical level. And if you don't stay with your physical health, you're not performing on that level ever. Yeah,
that's right.
So you could be in this department and have all this world experience, but if you can't walk up a flight of stairs, you're useless to me.
That's it. You're in the way.
You're one of the problems and the detriments. And I think that's an aspect in our world that really needs just to come back and adjust it.
Okay.
We need to just think about, hey, when was the last time you went for a long, strenuous walk? When was the last time you ran? Because I know you can run. You just choose not to.
Yeah.
Or why didn't you just do you really need to eat all those ribs? Maybe you want to have like a salad or something.
And you know what the crazy thing is? It's not just big guys either. Because people think just because, he's a big guy. There's guys that are smaller than me, smaller than you, and can't run. when they get up a flight of steps are winded. It's like you haven't done anything.
There are guys part of the Firehouse where my gear is heavier than them.
Yeah.
You need to start picking up something
That's right.
heavy more than once in a while. Come on, man. We got
and not just a keg to move to the next area.
You need a steak sandwich to get some meat on your bones real quick, because then you can help me out.
That's right.
Because a 2.5-inch line, that's a heavy line to be moving around.
That's no joke.
And if that operation's more than 15 minutes, you getting gassed real quick.
And don't have an MPO that's over pumping the hell out of that line, because you will be
and
taxed.
It's super easy to overpower the line on a 2.5. Man, you could easily blow out somebody without even trying.
No problem.
That's just like one setting real high, and then you're like,
boom.
I can't even handle this line. What did you just do?
Don't have a hydrant like a fire academy hydrant that's blowing, that's giving you 50 out of there.
Yeah,
Holy Jesus, what are you gonna do with that? I can't. I'm now trying to knock everything down. So
what's funny about that is in our district, our hydrants, they work. They flow water. They come from 6-inch mains coming in. You get your 50 psi.
You're getting that 50.
One block over into our other districts is part of the Suffolk County water line that is not as well built as Ocean Beach is. So the pressure is real hard to get sometimes. So you got to be
screaming.
You got to be real careful which hydrant you're selecting, because if you're kind of close to Ocean Beach, I'd rather do the longer relay between two trucks.
I'll get more pressure.
I'll get more water and pressure out of it than just going off the other hydrants in other districts.
That's crazy. All right, so listen, before we wrap up, I got a couple more questions for you. But before we even start with those questions, I got a game for you. All right? I got a game.
All right.
This game is called the flashover. Okay?
All right.
You know what a flashover is, right?
Of course.
Tell them what a flashover is.
Flashover is when everything in the room combusts.
At the same time. Boom. Really quick. There you go. All right? So that's the premise of this game. That's the premise of this game. It's really quick. So I'll give you two things. Maybe I'll say iPhone and Android. And you got to tell me which one you want. Okay?
All
But we're going to do TV shows and movies.
Oh.
Okay?
All right.
All right. Ready for the flashover?
Ready.
Really quick. Got to answer it just like that. All right. Here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Chicago Fire Rescue Me.
Rescue Me.
Rescue Me Third Watch.
Ooh. Rescue Me because of my boy.
All right. There we go. Backdraft or Ladder 49?
Backdraft.
Backdraft. And the most important question I'm going to ask today, engine or truck?
Engine.
There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Engine. So far, we've had a lot of people say engine. I only had one that said truck so far.
So that one's a tricky one for me.
Okay. Yep. And that's why I wanted to ask you that too.
So engine when I was younger, all day engine every day. I want a hose in my hand and want to play around now.
That's right.
Now that I'm getting older, I kind of want to go to the truck, because then I can just get more tools. I can go in, search and everything.
There you go.
A little less loaded, lightweight, and I can be moving amongst the smoke easily. So kind of on the cusp with it, but engine's kind of always been in my
It's
heart.
funny because when I'm engine guy, but when I became captain and I started going to fire school, I started wanting to go in with truck. After I kind of got, listen, I know what to do here. Let the young guys grab that. Let me go in. Hey, truck, take me in with you. I want to see how that is.
That's kind of my mind.
Yeah, when you start learning, like, I want to see how this is. I don't have nothing with me. It's just me in here. So I fully understand that. I fully get that. So with that said, I got a couple more questions. And one of the big questions is, if there is someone that's listening that wants to join or is about to join, what type of advice would you give them?
If you're going to join, make sure you do your due diligence in the membership and find that person that is knowledgeable and wants to teach other people, because a mentor is one of the best ways to get yourself acclimated and to really excel in that department in the future. So I would always say just keep going to whatever firehouse that you can get to, meet the people and the players there, and then when you're ready to join, talk to that one person that you think will teach you the most and stick with them. And for the people in the fire department, always be mindful of that mentor-mentee relationship. You may not know that you're in that, but you should try to recognize you are in it, and you should honor it, because your attitude and the information you will put out will either bring that person in or push that person away.
That is so true. I love the way you put that. I love the way you put that. Listen, Glenn, my boy, man, thank you for coming by. Definitely just tell them really quick what department again that you're from,
So I'm from the Ocean Beach Fire Department in Fire Island, and man, this has been a great time. If I can come back, that'd be awesome.
I definitely want you to come back. And that's why I've been telling everyone. I want everybody to come back, kind of just revisit and talk about how things are going. So
let me know.
Again, thank you so much for coming by to the Firehouse to sit with us and just chat. Listen, a lot of y'all don't know I know Glenn from other things, and we used to have a good time. Those was college days, but listen, we're men now with, families and everything like that. Respectable men, as much as we can be, right? All right, man. Again, thank you for coming. All right. So we have just learned, we have just heard from Glenn about his firefighter life and everything that he does over in Fire Island. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Please like, share, subscribe. I am your host for the Firehouse, WRHU 88.7. Please tune in next week for another great conversation at the Firehouse.